Welcome to the project Rydale Textile Living Laboratories, Generating Knowledge by Regenerating Land, a project by Anita Radini, Mark Palmer and Simon Thomas. We are based in United Kingdom in an area called Rydale in the North Yorkshire Moors National Park. I am an archaeologist based at the University of York and I'm funded by the Wellcome Trust. Mark Palmer is an expert in organic farming and Simon Thomas is an expert in community projects, community engagement and green transport. Before telling you about Textile Living Laboratories, I want to give you some basic about how the project came about. My research is funded by the Wellcome Trust. It's called A Taste of Hard Work and aims to understand if we can use a deposit on teeth of ancient people called dental calculus to track exposure to respiratory irritants of occupational origin in ancient skeletal remains. A lot of my work is based on characterization and studying of the dust generated by people during crafting activity. And so I spend a lot of time and a lot of material effectively analyzing the type of respiratory irritants that modern traditional crafters and ancient crafters have been exposed to during the practicing of their skills. When you work in a subject like that, realistic approaches to experimental work are really important because the data need to be as realistic as possible. The choice of raw material as close as possible to what would have been available at the time you are interested to study is also paramount because different type of raw material responds to mechanical action in many different ways, and this is true for wool as well. So very early into my project I realized that it was actually really difficult to source fibers in particular in a very sustainable way. I was very interested in knowing the origin of the material, how far they had traveled. I was very keen on animal welfare and the environment. For what concerned the wool, I was really lucky because the wool I needed Jacob wool, and I located a flock very nearby where I live. So it was all the wool for my project was sourced locally and with a wool very similar to the one that it would have been used at the time and the location that I was working on. I could not say the same with flax, which was the other raw material that I really needed. And I was absolutely shocked to learn that the United Kingdom and in many locations in Europe and in different parts of the world is nearly impossible to find good quality flax in large quantity that has been grown locally. And this was for me very interesting because working also as archaeobotanist, I knew that Northern Europe has a very long tradition of growing flax. And I realized that try to do research and to try to find fibers grown locally, that actually the United Kingdom have lost the capacity of going from seed to fibers in the past 30-40 years. It's nearly impossible now to even locate the equipment you need to prepare the fiber for textile production. During COVID, I was isolated like everybody else and away from the lab, and I had the opportunity to explore the topic of flax growing, and I started growing flax from seed and taking it to fiber in my allotment. And started through also Facebook and social media. I became very active in locating other people interested to do the same thing. And in the past 2 years, I was lucky enough to meet Mark Palmer and to work with Simon Thomas, and who were interested in the same thing. And Mark Palmer in particular has decades of experience in organic farming. So in autumn 2021 we rented a field in an organic farming setting, means that the field is part of our organic farming rotational system. We rented 2 acres so that we can get hands-on experience, not just on a small patch, but on something that can produce a substantial quantity of flax. This was very important for us because we wanted to produce raw material for ourselves, learning the process hands-on, but we also wanted to involve the local community and being able maybe to share some of the crop with local artists. We also have a wood field, and which is also quite important because fashion uses both fibers and dyes that are today very damaging to the environment. So we really need a different approach to fashion. So organic farming for us was very important because it helps to regenerate soil, it is sustainable, it increases biodiversity, it teaches us to learn to deal with pests in an environmental friendly way, and is for us very important in areas of outstanding natural beauties and national parks. So we created the project TELS, a Textile Living Laboratory in Rydale, exactly to do this, to grow, to regenerate land and learn from this experience, and then share what we learn with the highest amount of people possible. We really literally need to relearn the skill, because despite flax has been grown locally for hundreds and hundreds of years, in the past 40 years these skills have gone lost. So we are trying to find out where and when is best to sow, for example, and when and where is best to harvest. And so there is a lot of information that we are gathering. We are not the only people doing this. There are other projects in the United Kingdom and in many areas of Europe that are doing the same thing. They are relearning to grow flax in small scale. So our project also is aimed to share this knowledge with everybody that is interested. We're part of a very growing network. To me, this was particularly interesting because it linked up very much archaeology and the concept of sustainability in two ways. First of all, in terms of realistic approaches to the experimental work, I could use fibers and raw material in a sustainable way, but also in a way more similar to what ancient people would have experienced. The knowledge that comes from the past can help also to overcome the loss of flax seed to fiber production that is currently present in United Kingdom, but in many other areas of Europe. Growing flax locally will also help us to overcome the loss of variety of flax for fibers, because as we lose local crops, we lose their adaptation to the local condition, which is, in my opinion, very dangerous in the current environmental and climate change. It's also really important for us to have this project because there is in general a very good interest of the public in both national parks and archaeology. So being located in a national park and growing flax the ancient way is helping us to communicate to the public the scale of plant life needed to support humanity, but also to make very clear the impact the fashion is having on our world. We have created a website which is in process at the moment, but it has already a number of information. We are blogging about what we do on a regular basis. We have a session called part of the website called Sharing Knowledge, and where we have presented also the network. So the website has information regarding our experience of growing, what we are learning along the way through blogs, but also has a lot of useful link for anybody that is interested to do the same. So I really hope that with time the information on the website will grow and that it will become an important source of information for the local community, just as much as for those that are interested in experimental archaeology and sustainability. And we're hoping to involve the community in the harvest process and to be able to provide the plants and the fiber to any local artist and textile artist that is interested. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that you will find a little bit of time to come and visit us in our website. Thank you.